What's going on, everybody? It's Game Unboxing Reviews here, and welcome back to another LEGO Dimensions news update. Now, this video is going to be talking about a bunch of new screenshots that have been released for the game, and they mainly focus on the world, so what you can expect to see from some of the missions. Some of them look to be maybe adventure worlds, but I think it's mainly based on what the mission design looks like in some of the missions in LEGO Dimensions. So, without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, so first off, of course, here we can see Metropolis. Now, Metropolis has definitely seen better days. The buildings are destroyed, they're on fire. We can see, of course, there's also the Daily Planet globe is on the ground. It's all destroyed with some of the letters missing. And also what's interesting is we see these strange cubes, which I think are like barriers, and they say LexCorp on the front, but more on Lex Luthor later. Now, obviously, the last thing to mention about this screenshot is there's a lot of strange Middle-earth type architecture around, Metropolis now, and one of the things that, well, you can obviously see here is the Eye of Sauron. Now, we've seen in some of the trailers, we've seen the Eye of Sauron quite a bit, and I think what happens is in the main story, Lord Vortek is trying to mess with all these different dimensions. He's trying to cause complete chaos everywhere, mixing and matching all these characters and worlds together. So I guess, he wants to shove in the Eye of Sauron into Metropolis. That's just what happens, and I'd imagine that is one of the key story points in LEGO Dimensions. So it'll be exciting to see, why he does it. Maybe there's a reason for doing it. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how all these crossovers work in the main story. Now, speaking of Middle-earth, here we can see another iconic location from the Lord of the Rings franchise, and it is, of course, Minas Tirith. Now, apologies if I pronounced that wrong, but yes, this is really cool to see. Now, obviously, this looks to be the story mission version. I guess we're going to see it somehow in the story. That's probably due to, when we saw the Riddler, and he was riding, I think it was the Balrog from Lord of the Rings, so that's probably this mission. But, of course, in the Lord of the Rings adventure world, which you do get in the starter pack, and it looks amazing, it has Rivendell, and I think it has Hobbiton as well. It looks so cool, and you have all the different characters and everything wandering around, and there's quests and races and collectibles. It looks amazing. But yes, Minas Tirith is also present there, so if you want to run around that area, you can totally do that. And again, it doesn't just apply to Lord of the Rings characters. You can bring anyone in. If you want to be Batman and drive around the Batmobile in Minas Tirith, you can totally do that. It is completely up to you. And of course, speaking of the Riddler, here we can see the Riddler and the Balrog on top of Minas Tirith. I believe this is still Minas Tirith. And yeah, this looks to be the boss battle. I guess it's going to be the boss battle in the Lord of the Rings world for LEGO Dimensions. And it's pretty cool. I always like seeing these crossovers. It's interesting. You go to a certain location and you expect to fight that enemy. Like, for example, you go to the Scooby-Doo level and you're probably going to fight, a mummy. The mummy that we see in the trailer. But in this case, yes, you are in Middle-earth, and yes, you're on top of Minas Tirith, and there is a Balrog, but it's the Riddler. And he's put his little question marks everywhere and riddles all over the walls and stuff, and it's just such a cool crossover because you're expecting to fight just the Balrog, but no, the Riddler is there as well. And that is just one of the cool things about LEGO Dimensions that I just think really appeals to everyone, being able to make all these crossovers. But not only that, the story makes its own crossovers for you to make it entertaining. I love how there was one trailer where we saw Batman from, the LEGO Batman video game franchise meeting Batman from the LEGO movie, and just seeing them argue about who was Batman. I mean, things like that are just so cool, and I'm sure there's going to be lots more in the main game, and I can't wait to hear all about it. Now, here we can see, of course, the Yellow Brick Road, and we've pretty much seen everything from this mission. We know that you take on the Wicked Witch and everything like that. We know that Batman mistakes the Scarecrow for the Scarecrow from Gotham. It's all really cool stuff, but we kind of know about it all already, so there isn't really anything to talk about in this screenshot. So what I thought I'd do is talk about some of the cool new things that we're getting with the Wizard of Oz Adventure World. So obviously, with the main story, you get this mission, you can go back to it as many times as you want, which is great. So if you just want to walk around a small, slice of, the Wizard of Oz content, you can totally do that. But if you want more, which I would highly recommend, you could get the Wicked Witch Fun Pack. And this thing is so cool, because once you have the Wicked Witch, you have access to the adventure world for the Wizard of Oz. And this is amazing. It has iconic locations. It's got quests with characters like the Tin Man and the Scarecrow that have things they want you to do. There's, of course, races and collectibles. And not only that, but you can jump off the edge and then you'll land in Kansas, where the tornado is still going around destroying everything. I don't think it's destroying everything while you're there, but the tornado is still present. And that has even more stuff. You know, it has more characters that you can help, and you've got collectibles and races you can still do. And one of the cool things I thought is there's actually things called hub world renovations, where basically what you do is, basically there's been some houses that have been destroyed in the tornado, and you can actually rebuild them for the people so that they'll stay there. It's just so cool. And of course, if you want to go back to the Emerald City, all you have to do is jump in the tornado, and this cool sequence will play where you fly up to the top and then you land back in the Wizard of Oz Adventure World. And of course, you can do that as many times as you want. Once you're back there, you can literally jump back into Kansas, go into the tornado, and do it again and again, as many times as you want. And I just love that amount of freedom, you know? There's so much freedom in this game. It's amazing. It really is. This could be like the biggest LEGO game I've ever seen. Now here, of course, we can see Munchkin Town from the Wizard of Oz. Now what's interesting about this is definitely a mission, and the reason I can tell you that is because if you look in the background, you can see the hills and everything. They just look like a background. It doesn't look like you can actually go to it. But if you go into the Wizard of Oz Adventure World, everywhere you see, you can go to. There's pretty much no barriers from what I've seen so far. Literally anywhere you see, you can go to, which is really cool. And this just doesn't look like that. It looks like you can't actually go to those hills. So what if we haven't seen everything from the Wizard of Oz, you know, mission in the main story mission? You know, maybe after you've defeated the Wicked Witch, you actually move on into Munchkin Town, and then, you know, the mayor tells you what's been going on. Also, another cool thing is the mayor does actually appear in the Adventure World. He's one of the quest givers. So basically, if you go outside of Munchkin Town, he's there, and he'll be like, you know, some of the flying monkeys have stolen some of the yellow bricks from the Yellow Brick Road, and you actually have to go after the flying monkeys, and you have to fight them, and then bring the yellow bricks back. So it's just a little bit of fun, you know, it's a nice fun quest. They said there's not a giant, you know, narrative to the quests. They're just a bit of fun, but nonetheless they look great, and the characters have a lot to say, and I think it's a great opportunity to add characters that may not appear in the main story. So I don't think we've seen the mayor so far, but if he doesn't appear in the main story, it's at least nice to see that he appears in an adventure world. Now, moving away from the Wizard of Oz, here of course we can see the Hill Valley Festival from Back to the Future, and we've seen this quite a few times in the trailers, but nonetheless it looks awesome. We can see Doc Brown in the DeLorean, we can see a bunch of things that are used for the characters, and some of the things that I can see here is we've got the pole, which, you know, Wildstyle can spin around on and, you know, do athletics and things. We can see there's a grapple thing for Batman to pull with his grapple hook to pull the boxes down, and we can also see, if you look carefully to the very far right, we can see a little logo of Gandalf, and my guess is he uses his magic to levitate an object so he can saw that, you know, wood or box or whatever in half. So a lot of really cool stuff going on here, and it, you know, it definitely shows that this is definitely a story mission. But of course, Hill Valley is in the game, and you can free roam in it as well, as long as you have, of course, Marty or Doc Brown, which are currently the only characters from the Back to the Future franchise that are playable in LEGO Dimensions. But still, it's great to have those two, and it's going to be a blast to play as them. Now here, of course, we can see another mission which we've seen quite a few times, but it's still really cool, and it is, of course, the Aperture Science Labs from Portal 2, and it looks great. But what I wanted to do here is actually talk about what you're getting with the level pack, because they've talked a little more about the Portal content. So basically, apparently, what they've said is, in their eyes, this is kind of like a continuation of Portal 2. You know, this is what happens after Portal 2, but of course, in the LEGO universe. You know, it's not really a continuation of the actual franchise, so this isn't Portal 3, you know, the level pack doesn't act as Portal 3, but it does act as a continuation after Portal 2, which is really cool. But the Portal level pack actually features 9+ test chambers, and what's cool about this is, you know, if you see from the gameplay from the Aperture Science Labs, the one you see here, it's very different. You know, you're using the toy pad and everything, but when you actually get the level pack, that you're not going to be using any of that. You're specifically going to be using Shell and her portal device, and that's it. And that's great, because it literally is a LEGO Portal experience. Like I said previously, you know, level packs are going to act like mini experiences. So if you've ever wanted your own, you know, LEGO Portal video game, then this is going to be it, which is really cool. I'm also excited to see what the adventure world for Portal is going to look like, because I bet it's going to be amazing. Now here, of course, we can see a brand new screenshot from the Doctor Who story mission in the main game. So this is in the main story with Batman, Gandalf and Wildstyle, where they meet the Doctor and they take on the Cybermen and everything like that, which is great, and it's really cool to see. And I'm really liking the look of this, definitely. I mean, every time we see this mission, it looks super cool. I love the boss fight and everything. It just looks great. But I'm most excited about the level pack, because I really want to see what the level is, because, you know, like I keep saying, the level packs are going to be like mini experiences of what if there was a Lego game for this franchise. So the fact that there's going to be an entire mission devoted to Doctor Who alone, that just gets me so excited. I mean, I have no idea what it's going to be, but I'm sure it's going to be amazing. I mean, I'm already impressed by the Adventure World. I can't wait to run around in that. I just hate how I have to wait till November for the Doctor Who content, because that is my most anticipated. Don't get me wrong, you know, the things that are going to be at launch, like The Simpsons and Back to the Future and all that, that will keep me busy for hours, months, years, whatever. You know, they all look amazing, but I absolutely love Doctor Who. I'm a huge fan of it. So the fact that I can run around Trenzalora's, you know, the 11th Doctor and things like that, that's going to be a blast, and I'm really excited to do it. This is just another really quick look at another area from the Doctor Who story mission in the main game, in the starter pack, and it's still really cool. I think we've seen most of this environment from the screenshots that were announced at the big Doctor Who event, you know, where they talked about how you can place all the different incarnations of the Doctor and they can regenerate in order and everything, which is amazing, and you can go inside all the different TARDIS interiors and everything, which is great. So they've mainly talked about this mission mostly, you know, there's nothing really else to say about it, but it still looks great. And again, I can't wait to see what the level pack is, because I'm sure it's going to be amazing. And last but not least of the Doctor Who screenshots for this video, we can of course see the area for the boss battle in the Doctor Who mission in the LEGO Dimensions story mode, you know, where you're with Batman, Gandalf and Wildstar. And this is really cool because the boss battle for this, even though you don't see it here, you do see it in the trailer though, which is great, but the boss battle for this is actually the Dalek Emperor, which is super cool to see because we haven't seen the Dalek Emperor since the 9th Doctor, who was of course played by Christopher Eccleston, which means, you know, when you actually play the game and you play through this mission and you play as the Doctor, it's going to be especially awesome to be able to play as the 9th Doctor and, you know, take on the Dalek Emperor. There's just going to be a sense of nostalgia playing as the 9th Doctor and taking on the Dalek Emperor. I just think that's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, you know, we've seen Daleks and Cybermen and Weeping Angels. Like I keep talking about the level pack, maybe there's even more monsters and aliens we don't know about that are going to appear in that. We will just have to wait and see. Now moving on to LEGO Ninjago, here of course we can see Master Chen's arena, and it looks awesome and true to the franchise and everything. It just looks great. Now what's interesting about this is obviously we've seen it quite a few times in the trailers, but that's been a story mission, you know, that's going to be the main story. But my guess is during this arena a lot of things are going to get destroyed, and I believe if I remember correctly, the LEGO Ninjago Adventure World is actually set on Master Chen's island. So what if you can actually go back to this arena and rebuild anything that was destroyed? Obviously we do know about the Hub World renovations, so that's just my guess as to what one of them might be, you know, restoring the arena. Also, speaking of the arena, I think a really cool addition to the game would be if you can actually go back to it and then go into some sort of wave mode where you actually get to fight as many LEGO Ninjago enemies as possible. That would be so much fun. And you know, wave modes are really cool, and I really enjoy combat in LEGO games, so it'd be nice to see, you know, enemies not disappearing, being able to take them on as many times as you want. I did actually ask if the enemies will still be wandering the hubs, you know, after 100% completion, and they said yes. So, you know, don't worry about there being no enemies to fight. They will always be there, and there'll always be someone to take on, which is really great to hear. Now here we see another area from LEGO Ninjago, and I'm not entirely sure where this is. I'm sure some huge Ninjago fans will be able to correct me, and I would really appreciate that, but nonetheless it looks like a cool area. But here of course we can see Lex Luthor, and I did say previously, you know, at the beginning of the video that I will be talking more about him, you know, once we got to it, and here he is. Lex Luthor is going to appear in LEGO Dimensions, which is great to hear, and obviously he'll be one of the enemies that we'll take on. But what's cool is, you know, we have the Riddler, and he was on the Balrog in Middle-earth, which was a really cool looking boss fight, definitely. But now we have Lex Luthor in a LEGO Ninjago area. I mean, I love these crossovers. It's just so cool. No word on if Lex Luthor is going to be playable like ever, but you know, like I said, this game's going to be supported for years to come. So if you want to see Lex Luthor, it could come out next year, it could come out 2017, 2018, you just don't know. But yes, this game's going to be supported for years to come. So if one of the characters you're hoping to see isn't in the game yet, don't rule out the possibility of them being added later in the near future. Now here of course we can see the haunted house from Scooby-Doo in the main story mission in LEGO Dimensions, and this is a really cool looking mission. But I think, I know people are kind of disappointed that Scooby-Doo isn't getting a level pack, and that would be nice, but the fact is the Adventure World makes up for it. It really does. And what I think's cool about the Adventure World with the Scooby-Doo content is the haunted house is still there. It's still present, so maybe we'll be able to go inside it not only in the mission but also in the Adventure World, which would be really cool. But one of my favourite things about the Scooby-Doo content in LEGO Dimensions is definitely the outlining of the characters. It just makes it look so cartoony and everything, and I love it. It looks really cool. Now here of course we can see the interior of the haunted house, and it looks as awesome as the outside does. We can of course see the house is completely run down, you wouldn't want to go inside here, and clearly nobody has for years. We can of course see creepy paintings, cobwebs on the wall, it just looks so Scooby-Doo. It really does look true to the franchise of Scooby-Doo, and I'm very excited to visit these areas. And like I said, hopefully we can go back to them in Adventure Worlds, because I love interiors so much. Being able to go both outside and inside is always a ton of fun. Here we can see another screenshot from the inside of the haunted house, and it's pretty spooky looking. There's a lot of really spooky stuff. Like I said, more creepy looking paintings. The house is run down. We've got skeletons, we've got knights, we've got weird, torture equipment and everything. It's really creepy looking stuff, and I love it. And it's also cool to see that, we're going to be exploring the outside of the house in the mission, and then we're going to be going inside, and it seems like there's going to be quite a few rooms. Now, I'm really interested to see how it leads up to the circus, because is that like an underground creepy area or something? We'll just have to wait and see. Here we can see another room from the interior of the haunted house, and there really isn't much to say about this one except for the fact that it has some really cool looking Egyptian architecture and paintings on the wall, and again the house is completely run down. Now here we can see the circus, which is also part of the Scooby-Doo mission in the main story with Batman, Wildstar and Gandalf. And it says of course at the top, welcome to the circus. But if you look down at that, you can also see the mummy is there. There's quite a few things to build here as well, but I'm really interested to see, how do you get here? How do you actually wind up in this circus when you're in the haunted house? My guess is, classic Scooby-Doo, maybe you fall into a trapdoor and then it leads down to this really creepy looking circus. Or maybe after you've finished discovering, everything inside the haunted house and seeing, what is there, maybe they actually drive to the circus. I'm not entirely sure how it'll work, but obviously they haven't shown everything from each mission, so it'll be exciting to see how it all comes together. Alright, so we're moving on to the final two screenshots of this video, and first up of course, here we can see the outside of the Ghostbusters headquarters. We can also see some ghosts flying around there. Now, cool thing about the ghosts is Peter Venkman is actually currently the only character that can actually capture ghosts. There's no other character in LEGO Dimensions so far that can capture ghosts, which is really cool to see. And of course, if you look at some of the gameplay, you can see there's quite a few ghosts in different areas. I think we're going to be seeing at least one pack of ghosts in every Adventure World. I would imagine we'd see that. There's definitely one in The Wizard of Oz, and it is so cool how you capture ghosts. Seriously, if you're a fan of Ghostbusters, when you see how you capture ghosts, your mind will be blown and you'll be filled with nostalgia. It is just so cool. Now, something about this screenshot in particular is a lot of people think it's the Adventure World, and that is a possibility, but personally I don't think it is. And the reason I say that is because every screenshot I've showed in this video is from the starter pack. It's from what you're going to see in the main story missions with Batman, Wildstar and Gandalf. So it would be a bit weird to add this screenshot when it isn't even, part of the main story missions. But nonetheless, it looks great, and I'm very excited about the Ghostbusters content in LEGO Dimensions. And last but not least of the screenshots for this video, we can of course see the interior of the Ghostbusters headquarters. And like I said in the Scooby-Doo trailer analysis, this place looks amazing. But what's most interesting about this screenshot is that look who's actually inside the interior. It's the super secret police, who are of course from the Lego movie. Now this is interesting because we saw that the Riddler is on the Balrog in Middle-earth, then we saw that Lex Luthor was in the Lego Ninjago area. So what if Lord Business is actually going to be the enemy in the Ghostbusters mission, in the main story mission? I'm not entirely sure because they haven't really talked about all the villains we're going to be taking on in LEGO Dimensions' main story, but it definitely sounds like it's going to be really exciting. But like I said for Doctor Who, I'm more excited about the level pack. I really am. I mean, don't get me wrong, this looks amazing, but the fact that, you know, the Ghostbusters level pack is going to be like a mini experience of what if Ghostbusters was a full Lego game, that just sounds amazing, and I seriously cannot wait to see what it is all about. Alright guys, so that's pretty much it for this video. I mean, like I said, this video mainly focuses on the environments that we're going to see in LEGO Dimensions' starter pack for the main story, and they all look really cool, and like I've said several times now, you know, they're so true to the franchise. They really are. They're authentic, they look great, they have all the characters you'd expect to see, all the environments and everything are just brilliant, and I'm super excited about exploring them, not only in the main story, but of course in the adventure worlds as well. Alright guys, so I want to thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for lots more videos real soon, and as always, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe.